Good evening. This is my oral presentation on linguistic landscape on activity 4 on our Purcomm with Miss Hina Bugtong. There are a few questions on this picture. First, I examined this picture. The picture depicts the international arrivals of the passengers from different countries in our international airports. The picture depicts the way they convey the message from their minds through caricature. The first question is, what is the message of the text? The text message, based on the picture, is the events happening inside and outside an international airport. Based on the text, passengers may not understand each other and may not know the process, particularly of checking in or checking out at the airport, due to lack of signage or instruction that should be placed around and that will help the passengers understand the protocol in the airport so they may leave without getting a headache. How is the message constructed? Well, the message constructed, I said earlier, the message constructed through caricature, through a picture or a drawing. A caricature is a picture, description, or imitation of a person in which certain striking characteristics are exaggerated in order to create a comic or grotesque effect. How effectively does it represent reality? Based on the picture, it shows the real events that occur in everyday life inside an airport. The arriving and departing passengers and each employees, and the problem associated with the lack of signage or simple direction within the airport could cause even greater problems in the future. The picture represents fully and well the reality of life in the airport. What lifestyle, value, and points of view are represented in the text? Based on the picture, the passengers are all VIPs that need eager attention. They are all eager to leave the airport easily. The appeal of the airport lounge is clear from the passengers' points of view. It provides a quiet space to work, relaxation, get away from the hassle of the main airport terminal. Yet these areas are increasingly becoming overcrowded due to the proliferation of airline frequent flyer program. Based on the picture, we saw that the arriving passengers are hesitate on leaving the airport easily because they don't understand and what to do, or there are no airport employees to help them in their problems. Who or what is missing? Based on the picture, the passengers were in trouble, and the deficiencies that I saw are the following. Number 1, no sightings placed on the check-in or check-out counter where the passengers could see clearly. Eventually, no check-out counter has been designated on that venue. No seat reserved for the waiting passengers as they were checked by airport employees. No roof or barrier that separates the passenger to establish whether they are for check-in or for check-out. There is no detail or simple direction as to where the place for and uses, whether it's for checking in or checking out of the passengers. No guard has been deployed for passengers' safety as well as for passengers' luggage. The airport employees should have the identification or the ID for documentation for themselves, and to arrange the passengers to know immediately who will they approach for their exit or entry process, as it should have at least an interpreter on site to avoid the language barrier because different types of people or races of the passenger are being there for the moment. What message do you perceive from the text? The message I perceive in the text is that if there's no linguistic landscape used In an institution like an airport, if there's no signage or direction placed in each department, there will be chaos and problems. So it's important that there is linguistic landscape use in every branch or landmark of our country to avoid confusion and to make the process smooth and healthy. How might others understand it differently and why? Based on the scenario, it is important that the passenger who use the airport know how to understand the linguistic landscape of every airport, particularly in our own country, and think that our operating mechanism is in place. Especially that is an international airport, it is important that we pay attention to every small detail that use linguistic landscape. Make banners or signage for important announcement, like on airport, school, or even on hospital, so that people can easily understand the messages and that they are new to one's country. Passengers should feel valued and cared for and loved so they can take care of our own. What is the purpose of the text? The purpose of the text is to get the airport leaders to look at the problem of not being able to enforce or perform the appropriate signage or direction, that the use of linguistic landscape is important in the area or in that area or institution, so that each passenger can be properly and efficiently monitored and able to have a meaningful and orderly experience at an international airport. Who might be disadvantaged? The disadvantage will be on the passengers. The passengers will be the first to be affected if we don't use the right direction or signage in a particular area. For example, the checkout and the check-in counter, that is an important part of the airport. There will be confusion in each of one that will make the problem worse. Who is the target audience of the text? I think the target audience of the text is the head of that particular airport, the general manager and its employee, to convey the problems they may be faced when they not use proper signage or banners, and a lack of trained people who help them to pacify the passengers. And of course, the public itself, the passengers, so that they can be able to get the right process when they encounter the same at the airport, and the proper treatment to the fellow passengers. What technique are used and why? I think the technique used in this photo, taken by the linguistic landscape, is geosemiotics, which is the official sign. They need to use the official sign. They need to create an official sign to improve the knowledge of passengers about the particular area, like the check-in counter and the check-out counter. It may help them not be confused about what should be done. They know what the process they will do before they take off on the plane. What other ways of presenting the message? You can also show or convey a message aside from caricature by using a video presentation or making a poster to educate the passenger on how to check in or out correctly and leave the airport without hesitation. It may also use memes to impart the knowledge to the passenger on how to use the certain gadget on the airport so they can enjoy while waiting for their flight to be taken in. How effective are the techniques in supporting the messages or theme of the text? I think techniques used effective in way of conveying the message properly, clearly given the context to each reader using them. Specifically, the caricature theme. It has stirred the attention of the reader and its target audience. It has conveyed what it wants to do when it comes to services made at international airport. It's an eye-opener for all of us to see that our airports still have deficiencies and problems. If we use the right things such as signage, poster, banners, and others that can help provide information to people to properly use the facility and get the satisfaction they want when you use it properly. I think that's all my oral presentation about linguistic landscape. Thank you, that's all.